Carlos, thanks for joining us. You know, everyone's brought up this idea of getting high on stage. Is that accurate? And what happens when the high is over?
Well, sure. I mean, you get adrenaline and, endorphins get into your body, and you're actually brighter and faster. Your brain functions are actually more acute when you're on stage. And it takes a while for it to go away, and that's where you'll hear comedians say we can't go to sleep.
Right.
But if you think about it, the one thing that we talk about when we say comedy from what I can remember is that the formula is tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Yeah.
So much of what we do comes from that. Now, somebody mentioned Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry's one of those comics, luckily, that the things that he talks about aren't, being a minority, being oppressed, or, being beaten or being abused as a kid, that kind of stuff. When comics like that get into those dark, dark places, and we're being comedians, we see everything as funny. Whatever tragic moment, we literally think, how long do I have to wait before I tell this joke? That's why you can hear comedians always say, oh, too soon? Because the audience isn't ready to hear what we thought of the minute that tragedy happened.
Wow.
One of the problems is when that switch is turned off and we're in those dark places and we don't see the comedy, where we don't see the humor in the darkness of the Palestinian and Jewish conflict, or my mother beat me, or my dad abused me, or whatever those really harsh, dark, cruel moments are, and we're not in comedy mode and we can't get out of it, and that depression just takes you to a much, much darker place. That is a big problem. And if you think of Richard Pryor, one of his greatest stand-up routines was talking about how he lit himself on fire and tried to kill himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We laugh at it.
Yeah.
We're laughing, saying, God, this is brilliant. The problem with comics like that, and myself included, is when we're at our darkest, sometimes that's when we're the funniest to other people. So it's almost counterintuitive. How can this guy be depressed? He's having a great set. This material is so insightful, so into himself. Oh, this is great. And those are the times sometimes where you really need to look out the most, because those are the times where we are the darkest and we're the most vulnerable, and we do drugs sometimes and go to that other high. And when those are done, then the depression is even worse after you take drugs. And
Yeah, well, I think that's the point, is that the fixes, whether it's stage or drugs or people or the audiences, the fixes feel good in the moment and leave you empty on the other side, or craving more and unable to fill that void.